Sure, let's.
There we go.
Here we go. Okay. All right. Did everyone watch the movie?
I did.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Then I'm not going to go over the whole plot. Just a few details. This was released in 1993. It was co-written, directed, and narrated by David Mickey Evans. The characters, which I asked each one of you to see if any of them resonate with you, and you can let me know. A few of them I can pick out, but I'm not going to be so bold as to mention that, but you can tell me who they are. But this takes place in 1962 in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles, which it was actually shot in Utah, so it wasn't shot there. The characters are Timmy and Tommy Timmons, Michael Squints Palledorous, Alan Yaya McClennan, Bertram Grover Weeks, the pitcher Kenny DeNunez, who had the Monarchs cap on, just like Mike Mahoney is wearing. Then the catcher was Hamilton Ham Porter, and then of course you had Benny Rodriguez, who was the star. Of course, Scott Smalls was the kid that moved into the neighborhood that had to learn how to play baseball. The Beast was an English Mastiff that in a few of the shots, they actually had two actors in a dog suit to make that happen. And of course, you have Mr. Myrtle, Mr. Oh God, my mind just went blank. James
Earl Jones.
Earl Jones.
Yeah. Thank you. The movie made at the box office $34 million. It had a budget of $7 million. But then over the years, as it was released on VHS and DVD, it made $76 million. So that's pretty good. I know there was a copy of it in my house with my son being about 4 years old when that came out. Excuse me a second here while I flip through here. The actor that played the grown-up or the adult Benny Rodriguez at the Dodger Stadium was actually his brother, his older brother, Pablo Vitar. And then I said about the KC Monarchs cap. Hey, Pete.
There it is.
Who enjoyed the music? That really resonated with me. Some of the songs, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and There Goes My Baby, Wipe Out, Green Onions, Tequila. That was fun. I enjoyed those. And then there are several quotes that I think added a lot to it. And if it's something to be remembered, that's up to you. But the one where Benny has the dream that Babe Ruth comes to him. It says, heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Follow your heart, kid, and you'll never go wrong. So then you have Squints saying that Smalls was an L7 weenie, which wasn't very nice. And then
What does that mean? I am not familiar with that.
Well, if you put an L and a 7 together, it's a square.
Where?
Saying he was a square because he didn't know how to play baseball, and they had to teach him. L7 weenie. And then You're Killing Me, Smalls, when Ham was trying to make the s'mores when they were up in their little tree house. And they're toasting the marshmallows over the candle. He called them mallows. The fact that he didn't know that they made fun of him for that. And then when Wendy Peppercorn is putting her suntan lotion on at the pool, and Squint says, lotiony, lotiony, oily, oily. I can't take this anymore. I found this movie to be absolutely hilarious. I laughed out loud several times. You play ball like a girl was also a big quote. Ham had the ability to mess with whoever was batting from when he was playing catcher. And some of his lines were just hilarious. Like, "Oh, is that your sister standing naked out in the outfield?" And and many other things just to goad whoever the players were. But one thing you'll notice about their game is they never kept score. It was an endless game. Every day they started new. They usually had to go buy a baseball from the drugstore, and then they would just play until the ball went over the fence and the beast got it. So I'm going to turn it over to who would like to go first and tell me who you are and what you thought. Bill? Mike?
Well, I sort of identified with with the star player, Benny, not because I was a good ball player like he was, but in my neighborhood, I was one of the guys that always insisted that let's get a game going. And he seemed like he was the guy that was pushing that for the neighborhood guys. I thought the line "You're killing me, Smalls" is something that I've used ever since I've seen this movie way back in the 1990s, and I really like this movie because it felt like a coming of age movie to me. It feels like the summer vacation version of the Christmas Story. And I read that in a couple of different places, and I think I agree with it. I also like the fact I do remember going through baseballs left and right over the course of the summer, and you had to scrape up 98 cents because that's what they cost in my hometown as well to buy a new ball down at the drugstore, and we played morning, noon, and night like these guys did. Although we never had 9 people. We actually had more than that. We had enough to field a couple of teams of about 6 or 7, and we played on a asphalt playground, and so we would tear up the horsesides of balls a lot, and then would wrap them with black electrical tape, which added probably an ounce or two to the weight of the ball, but it also made the balls last a lot longer. So anyway, this was straight out of my childhood. I remember playing ball morning, noon, and night from about the time of first grade through, oh God, about 8th grade, really, maybe even 9th grade. So I liked it. It was a good throwback, friendly memories for me. And I thought the movie was was done well. I think it reflected the genuine nature of a gang of kids like that. The mean dog was a little bit over the top. I thought having James Earl Jones basically play the role of Josh Gibson, who was a well-known and very good power hitter back in the Babe Ruth days, was a nice touch. And I thought I just thought it had a nice feel to it, nice warm coming home or coming of age movie. I liked it an awful lot, and I watched it for this. I've watched it many times, and I'm sure I'll watch it many more.
So, Mike, you say that James Earl Jones played Josh Gibson. Was that implied, you mean? Or
no, I mean, just Bill, I just took that away from knowing who Josh Gibson was. I think they just modeled his character after Josh Gibson. I mean, that's I don't remember any general reference, other than the fact that he was familiar with Babe Ruth, and Josh Gibson would have been a contemporary of Babe Ruth.
I just thought maybe I saw that he's called Mr. Merle in that, but I wondered did did Josh Gibson end up having trouble with his vision? Or do you know that? Or are you just saying power hitting? He just reminded me.
Just as a power hitter, Gibson died. I don't think Gibson made it to 40. He got very sick real late in his career and died. And the legend was because he wasn't selected as the first black player to break the color line in Major League Baseball, that he died of a broken heart. I don't know about that, but yeah, he did. He died at a relatively early age.
Yeah, for all of you out of town, the Kansas City has a Negro Leagues baseball museum, and all these classic players like Mike is talking about, they're all represented there. Josh Gibson's one of them. I think he's the center fielder in that group.
Yeah, if you ever make it back here to Kansas City, and you're not in town for a Chiefs parade, the Negro Leagues museum is worth your time, even if you're not much of a baseball fan, because it's got a wonderful, not even backstory, but there's a wonderful secondary story about how important baseball was to the black communities in the first half of the 20th century, and then how Jackie Robinson's ability to break through and play Major League Baseball was one of the first major acts of the civil rights movement of the second half of the century.
Yeah, I really liked the film too. It was fun. It was entertaining, and after I started watching, I realized I had seen it before. I kind of remembered how it ended and all that, but really enjoyed it. It reminded me of my youth too. Where Mom would say, "Go outside with your brother and play baseball," and she'd shut the door, and we wouldn't come home until until it got dark. And so it brought back a lot of those kind of memories to me. But I just wanted to mention this guy that's in my background. That's Arliss Howard. So he came on at the very first of the movie. He was at the ball game, and he was the announcer, and I was going, "Oh, that's Arliss," and so I started looking in the credits and everything, and I didn't see him credited or anything like that. And then as the movie went on, at the end of it, he wasn't in the final credits either, but I've seen him all over the internet as being credited in there. But anyway, Arliss's brother was a friend of mine. In this picture, his brother looks just like him in that one, but Arliss is from Independence, and he's married now to Deborah Winger. But he's been in a lot of stuff. We were talking about with Pete and Mike the other night. He's been in Jurassic Park, and what was the war movie he was in?
Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
So I've kind of followed him for a while, and I don't know why he wouldn't be credited in this movie. He had plenty of parts, but anyway, it was a great movie, a fun movie.
I'm going to repeat what Mike and Bill, it clearly reminded me of my youth. I grew up in a neighborhood, had a lot of guys in there, and we had two different fields we used to play. I mean, I remember during the summer getting to that field. One was called Gilliford Field, and we'd get there in the morning when the grass was still wet with the dew, and we'd play ball literally until it was too dark where you couldn't see the ball 3 inches in front of your eyes. And like your parents, I mean, we just left the house. We never got, we weren't going anyplace bad anyway, but that was back in the day when kids just took off and rode our bikes insane distances and all that. And also some of the other stuff in there, going to the swimming pool. We had a swim club in our neighborhood that we all used to go to. We weren't playing ball. We'd camp out. We had a tree house that we used to congregate. So really all their different social activities I did, a lot when I was a kid. And I last week I said I didn't want to be Squints, but considering he married Wendy Peppercorn, I changed my mind on that.
Okay.
And 9 kids. Well done, Squints.
Yeah, he was busy. And then they bought the drugstore, which they maybe shouldn't, never mind. I'm gonna go on that path.
Apparently they're out of contraceptives. Is that what you're gonna say?
You just said what I was thinking, so, okay, who's next? There's not a lot of us here.
I'll go
I'll go.
next. Oh, go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to be short. I was just saying that I enjoyed it. And I use that expression, "You're killing me, Smalls," all the time, although I'd never seen the movie before and I didn't know where it came from. So it was kind of cool to see that. So yeah, that's, I didn't know we were supposed to identify with anybody, but I don't know who I would identify with. Maybe the guy who was repeating everything his brother said. It was kind of funny.
Timmy and Tommy Timmons, yeah.
Right.
Timmy and Tommy.
Yeah,
So, it was a fun movie though.
good.
For me, I started playing baseball when I was 5 years old in kindergarten, and I lived in Independence on Bristol Avenue, not too far from the Blue River. We used to go down to this diamond where the men played at night. And if a ball went into the river and we retrieved it, we got a nickel. And that's how we paid our way when we had to.
Nickel.
A nickel, yeah. And per ball. So that could be, might make a quarter that night or something. But my best friend was a guy named Ricky Armstrong, and he was 12 and I was 5. And so the first thing I got put to work at was behind the plate. Nobody wanted to be the catcher because we had no equipment. It was dusty and dirty. We all wore blue jeans because if you slid, it would just take your hide off, dirt. And so I would just come home covered in dust, and my mom would say, "Go outside and beat that all off and then come back in," And so that's where I learned how to play ball, was on that diamond, a block from my house. And it wasn't too far. There, in the opposite direction of the block, there was a candy store. So sometimes when we were going to pick up bottles and things like that, we got to go buy candy at the candy store. You don't hear about candy stores being on your corner anymore, but that was one of the thrills of living in that neighborhood. And I went back to that neighborhood later when I was older, and it all seemed so small. It was so huge when I was a kid. That diamond looked like it was, Royal Stadium to me, but when I went back, it was just this, kind of a crummy place there.
I'm surprised it was still there and not apartment buildings or something.
Well, yeah, that's true. It was, Independence, Missouri is kind of a place where it's kind of stuck in time. I don't think there's ever been any progress in Independence. When you think about it, it's still like it was in 1962 or 1952 or whatever. But,
I had a flashback about the baseball, remembering a new baseball out of the box, was bright white.
yeah.
And over a period of time, it would turn kind of a brownish green color, just from rolling around in the grass and get a little hard. Yeah, I visualize that ball, a well-worn baseball, watching that movie.
So Mike Sanders, which character resonated with
I don't know where you'd see, since I played when I was 5, that's how I learned. And then when we moved and I moved out to the suburbs and stuff, I joined a team, and so it was a little different. It was going to practice and playing other teams and stuff like that. I did become a pitcher. I started as a first baseman, and there was a guy. Do you remember Robin Link by any chance, Bill?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Robin happened to be my third cousin. We started talking. We had the same great aunts and great uncles. But anyway, Robin was our pitcher. We only had one pitcher. And so he lost his stuff one night, and the coach came up to me and he said, "You can throw pretty good, Sanders. Here." And he gave me somebody else's glove, because you can't have a pitcher's mitt or a first baseman's mitt on the mound. And he said, "Go up there and give it a try." And I was like, okay. So I went up there and I wound up and I threw it as hard as I could, and it went straight over the top of the backstop at Waterworks Park, which is where we played often.
Mm,
And I finally settled down and learned how to pitch a little bit better. And one of my great stories for myself anyway was I almost pitched a no-hitter, not quite. I walked a guy and he stole every base. And then I had a lefty come up, and I was kind of bad about hitting lefties because I was right-handed. And so I hit this guy under his rib, and so he threw his bat up in the air. It came down on top of the catcher's head, past his mask. He stepped back, cleated the umpire, and so all of them were just out. I mean, they're just all laying on their, and the ball rolled back to the fence. So I ran in and could not get the guy in time, so he scored. So we won 12-1, and it killed my shut-in.
mm,
It was pretty exciting at the time.
mhm.
Yeah. Hey, Matson or Sanders, that sounds like that was an error and not a hit. I think you threw a no-hitter.
Oh, well, you think I did? He scored.
Yeah, I do.
Though. I mean,
Seriously.
it wasn't a perfect game though. He scored.
No, it wasn't. But I think you can claim a no-hitter.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess you're right. It would be, wouldn't it? That would have been an error. Well, I don't know. I hit him though. That was no error.
You did it on purpose.
No, I didn't. I always had trouble with lefties. I don't know why. My pitch, I would throw, across that way, and left-handers always scared the shit out of me because I'd whiz it right by their nose and stuff like that. They get all pissed.
So I identified with, since I was always organizing Sandlot games, but not baseball, but football. So I identified with Benny with a little dash of Squints in there because, I don't know, I wore glasses. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I wondered on the games, like, well, why wasn't Benny in a league? I mean, you would think he would have been playing Little League baseball as good as he was.
Yeah,
So, anyway,
it happens, I think. Where there's a good kid in with all the other kids in the neighborhood. I didn't say who I identified with, but I guess I kind of identified with the little brother since my brother is 4 years older than me, always had to take me too, but I mean, so like, I wouldn't say Larry was quite like Benny, the really good player, but Larry could really hit the ball. And it was like this one field we played in, he would really, and maybe it was just because he was 4 years older, and it's kind of like what Mike said, back then things seemed so much different, but he was so much more stronger than us, and he would hit the ball, and it would come within feet of taking out these people's picture window, across the street. So I was Tommy. I was always getting drugged to these games or to play.
No.
Terry, you raised a good point about why wasn't that the Sandlot guys in Little League, because I mean, they clearly played ball. They had a town league. They played one of the league teams. There's no reason at all that those guys wouldn't have had an opportunity to join the local Little League. And in fact, given the dedication of the game, it's surprising they weren't in it.
I
yeah,
wondered if they didn't have the money, perhaps the parents, because they would scrape their nickels and dimes together every day just to buy a ball to play. So
Yeah, like when they played the other team had uniforms.
yeah.
They didn't, so maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't come from a well-to-do family, and I don't remember, costs being prohibitive for Little League. I mean, it seemed like if everybody wanted to play, and a lot of guys that shouldn't have been playing were playing too. And in my hometown, it didn't feel like cost was a factor.
I played on organized teams when I was a kid. And yeah, you're right. I don't remember it being prohibitive as far as the cost. It wasn't really a burden to my mom and dad. And my brother Pat and I both played usually on the same team. So,
Interestingly enough, I got so much practice at football in Sandlot because there really was no little league per se. I mean, there was Mighty Mites or something like that, but in our case, that was cost prohibitive. It's like you had to buy your equipment. Your parents had to drive you all over the place, and it was just like they wouldn't have the time or the money for me to play little league football. So it ended up being Sandlot, and then intramurals in junior high.
Yeah, there was not an organized football little league in my hometown either, and so it was all it was all sandlots everywhere. I mean, every neighborhood, you'd see games breaking out all over the place.
Jeff
Dr.
Copeland.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, I similarly enjoyed this movie. I found it. We're talking about how the catcher had funny comments for the batters and so forth, but it was like these guys were little adults in some ways. They had such interesting dialogue, and the things that came out of their mouth sometimes it was beyond their years almost. But then I thought, well, maybe I don't know a lot of 10-year-old boys, and this may be what's going on with them. But I found that to be an interesting part of it. I can't say that I identified with anybody particularly. I played Little League or some version of that for a little while, and I found that I had zero talent at that. So I didn't persist with it. I was more on the swim team and that kind of stuff. But I was reminded of a Randy Newman song. I don't know if you guys have heard Potholes. But he's singing about the potholes on memory lane and how it's good to be able to forget stuff. But the story he tells at the start of it is that he had a baseball game as a kid, and he was a pitcher. But he said, like, the day before I went out and threw the football around or something, I went and I walked like 20 people. And then he said, the first time I dated my first wife, she came over to my house, and I went to the kitchen to get something. And when I came back, my dad was telling her the story about the time that I walked all these kids. And then he said that she came back again, and he was telling her the same damn story over and over again. So I always think about that when I'm thinking about Little League stuff as a kind of a funny song. But I do think this kind of encapsulated small town 60s life. And I just wonder if there's anything like that existing anywhere in the United States anymore now, where kids could just go off and be gone until dark. And I hope there is, but I really think we're missing something.
I think you're right that
Yeah.
it isn't there anymore. And, that's something that Roger Ebert said too, that he got so engrossed in the movie that when there was a line drive hit, he felt like he needed to put his mitt up to catch it. And he just felt like a 12-year-old again, watching it, the innocence of that age. But yet they were all such good friends and so close. And could play
I think, yeah, that kind of was, to me, the pure love of the game. The fact that they would just go, they wouldn't keep score. They just liked doing it. It's probably what kept the best player with them. It was a lot more fun doing that than it was doing anything else that had to do with baseball. And they played well with each other. When they played the other team, they were clearly technically better than the other team because they played together so well, and they just had it, boom, boom, boom. So that was kind of delightful to see this other team that thought they were all organized and everything, and they didn't have the passion that the Sandlot Kids had.
I don't know about you guys, but I was going to say my rule was when the street lights come on, you have to be home. That was or you should be on your way. You should show up shortly thereafter that.
Yeah. It's been probably now every bit of 15 years ago, maybe longer than that. I rolled past a baseball diamond in a park in here in Kansas City somewhere, or somewhere in the suburbs, and actually saw a bunch of guys, in this range, doing a pickup baseball game like this, and I had the guy I was working with my shooters, and man, we got time. Let's just pull over and watch this for a second. So we pulled up and just watched about 15 minutes of this, and the guys that were playing sort of looked over and was wondering what we were doing. We didn't get out of the car or anything. We just sat there and watched them, and that was the last time I have ever seen a pickup baseball game underway. I looked around. I've seen teams practicing before, when they're not in uniforms and that sort of stuff. But for a pickup Sandlot game, it's been a long time since I've seen one of those.
Neat. Did any of you wonder about their ride after they took some of the chewing tobacco and then got on the is it Trabant or whatever the name of the ride was? Yeah, that was pretty gross. I actually read a thing that told how they made that vomit. It was licorice and bacon bits.
Oh, God.
Which would
That
make
makes me want to throw up right there. Yeah.
I
That really?
know, right? You wouldn't even need to make that stuff up. And
Now,
also,
the pool scene, when I was in Little League, we were not allowed to go to the pool. That was like
On days when you were playing, yeah, right.
Right. If we were it was a practice day, that was okay. But if we were having a game, we were not supposed to be at the pool. And if you were caught at the pool and it got back to the coach, he benched you. He wouldn't let you play. So it was a little tougher then, I guess.
then you missed out like Squints did, behind these.
Right. Well, we had, in North Kansas City, I don't know if you went there, Bill, but I went to the pool at North Kansas City a lot when I was a kid growing up. And my mom would drop me and my sisters off there. She worked and she would just say, hey, go have fun at the pool. And then she would come pick us up later.
Yeah.
That was my experience of, listening to the music of the time. WHB was on the PA all the time. And, the girls were all lined up on one side and the guys were all lined up on the other side. That was a whole different experience. The pool in North Kansas City was part of the library, of all things. And it was also a civil defense shelter. We often had to go in the basement there when we were having civil defense drills. Anyway.
Did your mom text you when she was coming to pick you up?
No, we didn't have texting back then. No, not at all.
You better be carrying a dime or two with you to make a phone call, right?
Right. Yeah, you needed that dime.
You needed a dime for either a soda or else popcorn.
Right, there you go. If you wanted something. One time when I was playing intramural basketball, a guy stepped on the inside of my ankle and the outside of my ankle hit the hardwood floor and cracked it. And so they said, okay, where's your mom? And I told them, and they said, we'll give her a call. And she just thought, I sprained my ankle like anybody would. There were so many things when I was growing up where I was in the emergency room or whatever it was, that she didn't show up. And I swear to God, my foot swelled up all the way from my ankle up to my knee, by the time she got there. And then when they tried to do x-rays, I couldn't hold my foot still. And I was going to, she felt kind of bad about that. But I had to go for, I think it was a year and a few months. I went from crutches to a cane. I don't know if you guys at North Kansas City remember seeing me hobbling around, but my locker was at the DAG building, which was a completely different old building, the original school. And it was just torture to have to go over there and climb there was no elevator, climb the steps. And my locker was on the 3rd floor, get my books. And most of the time I just carried them around with me. It took a long time to recover from that. And I had a doctor tell me, you're never going to play sports again. But then after I recovered from that, I started playing soccer with Matson and Barnhart, and I showed them. We had a fun time doing that too. We had to do a movie of our own called The Soccer Club.
You should.
Try to
Well,
was-
Luke,
be fine.
Go
go
ahead,
ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
I was going to read to you the arc of the characters that was put on here by Screen Rant and some other places, but says that Smalls kept in touch with his friends, and Yaya went to military school and then became a pioneer of bungee jumping. Well, he's the one that they lowered over the fence to try to get to all the way.
They were pretty inventive on their ways to try and get that baseball.
They were. They were. And then the
Did that
brothers.
remind anybody of the Little Rascals?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Anyway,
Then the brothers, Timmy and Tommy, designed playground equipment and then became millionaires after inventing mini malls. And then, of course, Squints marries Wendy Peppercorn, and they had a large family and owned the drugstore. Excuse me here while I scroll this up. That's a repeat. Sorry here. Oh, Hamilton became a wrestler and called himself the Great Hambino. See, Nunez pursued baseball, but he never made it past the AAA. But he had some kids on a little league team that he managed, and he named them the Heaters. Remember, that was his pitch. Of course, we know what happens to Benny. Benny goes and plays for the Dodgers. And then hold on, I gotta scroll over. Sorry, guys, I couldn't get this to print. The one that said, the one person whose fate is surprisingly ambiguous is that of second baseman Bertram. According to Smalls, Bertram got really into the 60s and no one ever heard from him again.
I know a guy like that from high school.
This leaves Bertram's future unclear compared to the detail endings of the other characters. So it was kind of fun to read that, what they thought, what the writer thought was the arc of the characters. So if Gary Whitaker were here, he'd be real proud to know that we discussed that.
I want to tell a quick story. Paul Binlon, who is a photographer at Channel 5, they were going to some sort of event where James Earl Jones was at the event in Kansas City. And the reporter started asking questions about, at this time, Field of Dreams had come out. And they said, boy, you seem to really know baseball well after seeing you in Field of Dreams. And he goes, no, I don't. As a matter of fact, I don't even care for baseball at all. And they go, you're kidding me. And he goes, that's why they call it acting.
Oh, that's great. He's great. Great actor.
Paul Binlon story.
That's kind of disappointing to hear, because I mean, in some circles that monologue from James Earl Jones from Field of Dreams is like a prayer,
Mhm.
Sure. He was great in that flick too.
Well, too bad for him. All of us
Yeah.
baseball fans, you're
All right, you guys ready for next week?
Sure. I don't have anything else.
All right, who's got next week?
I do. I follow Chris now.
Okay.
I want to see if you guys can guess what this movie is. This movie stars Harvey Keitel, Albert Brooks, Jodie Foster, Sybil Shepherd, and Robert De Niro.
Taxi
Taxi Driver. He's right.
driver. Yeah.
Oh gosh, Pete.
And
You
then,
win.
yeah, you win. Okay, so that's going to be next week's movie. And I want you to look for the Scorsese cameo that's in here. He also stars in it. He plays a role, a small role in it. It's kind of like Hitchcock. See if you can find Scorsese in the movie.
Okay.
That'll be next week's.
Okay.
That won some Academy Awards, didn't it?
I can't remember. I know it got nominated for a lot of stuff, but it just won a few, I think.
Hmm.
And one of them, I think, was Jodie Foster.
I believe
Yeah,
you're right.
I was about to say, I thought Foster won like supporting actress, something like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't she a kid in this movie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
she was. She was. She was only like 13, I think. And she was
Was
playing
she-
a 13-year-old.
Was she a young prostitute or something like that?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah,
No
that's a
spoilers
monumental
here
movie.
now. Let's not spoil it. Just kidding. I figure most everybody's seen it anyway. but,
Yeah, yikes.
Nope.
we haven't done that one before, and that's what I think is one of the great movies that Scorsese's done.
Was that in the 70s?
Yes.
76. I just looked it up. She was 14 years old in that movie.
There you go.
Hmm.
All right, and what do we have for recommendations? Anybody have recommendations for this week?
I saw again on Netflix related to music. There's a feature called The Birth of Cool, which is about Miles Davis, and it's going off on March 2nd. So it's only there for a short time. If anybody's interested in that. Miles Davis is from Alton, Illinois originally, but he was really super accomplished. He went to Juilliard and did a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, he got really addicted to heroin. But it's the story of his progression and how he really sort of started a type of jazz that wasn't in existence before. So I think it's a good biopic of him.
What's it on?
It's on Netflix. The Birth of Cool.
Anybody else?
Bill mentioned this last week, but I got to watch American Fiction in my quest to see all the best pictures. I liked it. Did you like it, Bill?
Yeah, I liked it.
American
liked it all.
Fiction?
Patty did not like it, but she's not liking a lot these days.
Oh,
But
I thought it was
but
great.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I think I was going to say, I think he could win Best Actor, and he certainly could win Best Actor for
He
his.
sure could. Yeah, he is up for.
But I watched Maestro this week, and I had to start a couple of times because I just wasn't enjoying kind of seeing Leonard Bernstein. He wasn't quite the character I thought he was. And but once I did finally sit down and watch it all the way through, I mean, I really could see Bradley Cooper winning Best Actor for that part. I thought it was that good. And I've seen American Fiction, American Fiction. I've seen The Dropout. I've seen a couple of others. Well, I've seen Oppenheimer and
You've seen The Holdovers.
Holdovers. And so anyway, that was the best acting job I'd seen in all of them so far.
I wanted to recommend a movie called Suncoast. It stars Laura Linney and Woody Harrelson. It's on Hulu, and it's about a young boy who is dying, and his sister is trying to cope with it all. And it's not bad. I thought it was pretty good. I'm also watching Capote versus the Swans, which is fun still.
Is that on Netflix?
Capote, it's on Hulu.
Hulu.
Oh, and by the way,
I
the
started
Taxi
that.
Driver, for those of you, it's Taxi Driver is available to rent at 7 different places, but it's also on Tubi for free. If anybody wants to watch it.
Okay.
And then I did watch Past Lives and Rustin, which were both things that you guys have recommended. And
Those
What do you
available-
think of Past Lives?
I thought that was really sad. It reminded me a little bit of, do you remember, I think last year there was a Korean movie called Drive My Car? And it was about police investigator who was having an affair with a woman he was supposed to be investigating. And it reminded me a little bit of that. She ended up committing suicide at the end, grabbed my car, but I just thought it was poignant and touching and it was well worth it, no doubt. But oh, and then I had one more I wanted to throw out there. It's called Please Stand By, and this is for free on Peacock. This is about a young girl who has autism, and she has written a script for Star Trek. Star Trek has had a contest, and they want you to get the script to them on a certain day, and she has to run away from home, get on a bus, get kicked off of a bus, go to all kinds of places to try to get her script in. And it stars Elle Fanning, and it's not bad either. It's a fun little movie.
Anybody else?
I don't have any tonight.
And you didn't watch a movie last night?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just kidding.
So when is the parade? Are you guys going to the parade?
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday and they're expecting 1 million people. No, I'll stay right here in my chair and get out some popcorn or something and watch it on television.
Yeah, that's the problem. Where do you park? With million
Yeah.
Where's
Yeah,
it
I
streaming?
covered the Royals parade in 2015 and the first Chiefs parade, and they're just absolute monsters to try to get to and get around. Unless you've got unless you're prepared to camp out for like 12 hours, or you know somebody that's got a business where you can be inside and have a restroom nearby, that sort of stuff. It's a giant pain in the butt. I get they'll have, if the weather's going to be as nice as they say, they'll have 800,000 people down there, maybe. But I wouldn't go to one of them for love or money.
Now you say it's on TV. Is there something where we could stream for us folks that don't live in Kansas City?
Yeah, I would imagine every one of the commercial stations in town, 5, 4, 9, and 41 are probably going to have it streaming. 41 probably for sure, because they're in bed literally with the Chiefs as the preferred Chiefs station. They paid them about $1 million for access. Scripps Howard did.
All right, cool. I'll have to check that out if I'm around.
Yeah, that'll be approximately 9 o'clock in the morning your time, and then
They did move it back.
and then the ceremony at Union Station will be about 11:45 your time. 10:45, 11:45.
Thanks, Michael.
Taylor Swift going to be there?
Ooh, it's a big mystery. Yeah, it's being talked about, that's for sure. But they moved the parade back an hour because of it being Valentine's Day and people wanting to get into the Crossroads area in downtown and such for their special dinners, their sweetheart dinners. They tried to change the time because you can't get out of there before what, Michael? 5, 6 o'clock at night.
Right. Yeah. No.
My problem, but maybe for somebody else.
No. It'll be. Yeah. I remember on one of the two I covered, I had to park over on a street called West Paseo, and I didn't even know there was a street in Kansas City called West Paseo, and had to make the march over to it. I mean, it felt like I was on a pilgrimage.
That would be pretty wild if Taylor Swift was up in one of those buses with Travis Kelce.
It's a possibility.
She'll be there. Did you guys see about every 3 minutes they showed her among all the scores of other celebrities in that stadium. That was like every time it was just went to Taylor Swift.
We kept count of it. It was something like 16 or 17 times she was on.
Really?
Well, one of the networks actually timed it. She was on 53 seconds out of the whole,
Wow.
out of a 4.5 hour thing. So it's not quite what it appeared to be, I guess.
So I got a movie to recommend. When I went looking for it, I thought it was so obscure that I wouldn't find it, but there right is on, I guess I saw it on YouTube. It's called Kama Sutra. It's about in India and the girls learning how to be part of the king's harem. And then this sculptor guy starts having an affair with like the queen or the favorite concubine of the king. So it's actually a really beautiful movie. The set and the clothing and everything and the costumes are really, really pretty neat. And there's, it's not blatant, nude sexuality or anything. It's just really a kind of a fun movie. And
Did
the
you read the
king
book?
no.
What's it?
Anyway,
What's
then
it
another
on?
odd movie. If anybody's willing to, check this out, is Baghdad Cafe. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Baghdad Cafe, but it's a quirky thing where I am actually driving out of Barstow on I-40. I think if you ever do watch this, it's like at a defunct like gas station, and there's an interstate going by in the background. Well, I think I located where this place is. So, not that anybody's watched it yet, but
What is Kama Sutra? Where do you find it?
I don't know. It's probably on. I think it was on YouTube.
Okay.
So it's really interesting. To tell you the truth.
Who picks next week?
It would be
Mike
Whitaker.
Sanders. He just
Well,
picked Taxi Driver.
Well, he just did next week.
Yeah, but he's saying who picks after I do Taxi Driver next week.
Oh,
It would normally be Whitaker.
it would be.
So we need to be able to,
So
who
I
is
guess
in,
that swings around to Terry.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Not
Oh,
for next
okay.
week, but the week after that. If I'm doing my alphabet correctly. Is that right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Or unless Whitaker doesn't show. Right?
Whitaker said he won't be back until May 9th.
Oh,
So
Okay, so next week's Monday meeting, I pick the movie that, next week. Okay.
the
Right.
following week, right?
you can do it.
You just gave us
I will.
2. So if you want to make one of them your pick, we can do it now.
What?
Just saying. Said you just gave us 2 movies. If you want to make one of the
No,
two.
no, neither of
your
those
pick.
two. At least
No.
not right now.
He's got to find an artist for us.
Exactly.
The agony and the ecstasy.
Oh,
No, I don't know.
I've seen that. I think I read the book but I think I might have seen that movie. That was a pretty good movie, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's a series coming out that just for old time's sake, it's a special interest thing because I read the book and then I watched the previous Shogun miniseries. So it's coming out on Hulu the 27th of February. And I'll probably, buy into Hulu, especially to watch that because, just because I have the background in it before.
Is that a series also, or are they gonna make a movie? Is it a movie?
It's a
I think it
series.
is a series
Yeah.
on Hulu.
Okay.
That was advertised on the Super Bowl, I think, wasn't it?
I think
I don't
you're
know.
right.
I don't remember seeing that.
Also,
just
Deadpool
remember-
3 is coming out this summer.
What is?
Deadpool 3.
Oh,
I just remember Jesus.com being advertised last night.
Yeah, I read about
That
that
was-
family. they're the family behind Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh. So that's a movie that hasn't come out yet?
What?
Jesus.
Jesus.com? Yeah,
Oh,
coming
that-
to a theater near you.
Was it,
What? Oh, the one I'm talking is Shogun?
no,
Yeah,
no.
27th.
I thought I didn't realize you guys were kidding about the Hobby Lobby people. Were you kidding about that?
No,
that was a-
the Hobby Lobby people support the political action committee that put the Jesus
Oh,
Gets Us ad on
Yeah.
that was on during the Super Bowl.
gotcha.
Yeah, they actually had two ads, one
Yeah, that's
long
what I was
one and
thinking.
one short one. Yeah.
Okay. I never realized they were behind that.
Yeah. The
Well, that
greens.
wasn't the
That's
graphic part of it. I mean, they were paintings. They looked like 21st century Norman Rockwell. These posed like picture painting sort of things was the image of the Jesus.com thing. Anyway,
All right.
whatever. I
Yeah.
thought those were really neat.
Yeah.
Universal for, I don't know.
Don't know.
Right.
All right, folks. Well,
Good pick.
All
thanks
right.
so much. Yeah, good pick, Chris.
Good pick.
Yeah, that was fun. That was lots of fun. Enjoyed it. All right.
Thank you.
See everybody.
See you guys next week.
See ya.
Hey, buddy.
Next
Take
time.
care.
Bye bye.